What should you do if your spouse is used to controlling everything, turning your days into a real hell? Break up and lose your life or submit and stay alive? Ashley Marie Doolittle was born on May 20th, 1998, in Louisville, Colorado, to Marie and Jeff. Ashley had two brothers, Michael and Brandon. The girl was fortunate to grow up in a family that always supported and prioritized her aspirations. From the time Ashley turned 5, she had her first pony. Her gentle approach to animals and passion for horseback riding emerged at that young age and subsequently became an enormous part of her identity. Above all, Ashley adored horses. This affection eventually transformed into a specific life purpose. Starting at age 8, she participated in equestrian shows and was captivated by the atmosphere. By 2016, Ashley had already been crowned as the rodeo lady-in-waiting at the Boulder County Fair. She had just 1 year remaining to become rodeo queen. A rodeo queen serves as an ambassador and the face of this sport. Before achieving the main title, young women undergo a series of rigorous interviews. Additionally, they must showcase their horsemanship abilities. After coronation, the winner attends various rodeos, hones her skills in workshops, appears in parades, and represents her association or region for 12 months. Ladies-in-waiting collaborate with the queen to embody the spirit of rodeo. This comes with substantial responsibility. It includes helping secure sponsors, fundraising, attending community events, education, and much more. All of this became a significant component of Ashley Doolittle's life. Already in her position as lady-in-waiting, Ashley earned recognition for her dedication to the rodeo community. She had become a role model for other girls dreaming of representing this sport. Schoolgirls interested in horses would often approach Ashley requesting autographs. Despite her popularity, Ashley remained humble and left personal messages for each of her admirers, encouraging them to pursue their dreams. This fact spoke volumes about her character and lifestyle. Ashley was also an active participant in Boulder County's horse program, aimed at inspiring young children to engage in equestrian sports and learn riding skills. She participated in several judging and logic teams, rode horse carriages, and was even named champion in the National Western Individual Competition. Furthermore, Ashley was also one of the founders and twice vice president of the Thompson Valley FFA chapter. FFA stands for Future Farmers of America, an independent student organization for people interested in agricultural development. In fall 2016, Ashley planned to enroll in Colorado State University's college, where she intended to study agricultural business. This was another passion of hers, besides equestrian sports. One could confidently say that Ashley was destined for a bright future on her path toward achieving great goals. She had just graduated high school in May 2016 and eagerly anticipated the next chapter in her life. But all of this was destroyed by the decision of one person, who determined that he would rather take Ashley from this world than let her be with anyone else. And that person's name was Tanner Flores. Friends, over 90% of viewers watch videos without subscribing to the channel. Check if you're subscribed. If not, please be so kind as to subscribe to the channel to support me. The young people met and started dating in high school in Berthoud, Colorado. These were typical teenage relations, but they couldn't be called a happy love story even before everything went wrong. People said that Tanner attempted to fully dominate Ashley's actions. He began dictating what she could and couldn't do. One of the things that was strictly forbidden for the girl was attending parties when she would be in college. Tanner wouldn't allow Ashley to participate in any recreational student activities. Whether it was jealousy or a desire to keep the girl to himself made no sense, because Ashley was never a partygoer, so there wasn't actually any valid reason for concern, but the mere desire to control another person's life already served as a red flag in this relationship. Based on his behavior, Tanner was an extremely jealous and insecure teenager. The fact that he feared losing Ashley to someone better than him spoke volumes about his personal issues. By controlling her, he attempted to validate himself. Ashley definitely started growing weary of her domineering boyfriend, and fortunately, about a year after meeting him, she realized Tanner wasn't right for her. The high school student decided to break up with him. The constant criticism and restrictions had destroyed any developing feelings in the girl, so the decision to separate wasn't difficult for her. On June 4, 2016, the young couple went for a walk in the park to discuss their relationship. The weather was wonderful, so the conversation happened in pleasant surroundings, even though the topic wasn't exactly pleasant. According to Tanner, the walk and discussion went splendidly. Everything was fine between them. Apparently, the boy didn't understand the message that their relationship was over. Or maybe he understood, but simply didn't want to accept it. When Ashley was relaxing at a cafe with friends the next day, Tanner appeared as if nothing had happened and wanted to embrace her. But for Ashley, everything was finished, and now she didn't want anything to do with him. She ended up quietly leaving while Tanner was distracted. The following day, the young man again started bombarding his ex-girlfriend's phone with requests to meet. This time, he invited her to walk at the Lon Hagler Reservoir, and by the end of their conversation, he was firmly convinced that everything was the same between them. No matter how much Ashley tried to convince her boyfriend that they weren't a couple anymore, it seemed like Tanner wasn't hearing her. Perhaps the problem was that Ashley wanted to break up peacefully. She didn't want Tanner to harbor resentment toward her, so the young man perceived this as girlish whim. Tanner continued flooding Ashley with messages on messenger apps and social networks, again persuading her to meet and talk. The girl repeatedly responded that she didn't want to see him anymore, but the boy wouldn't calm down. He invented false stories about his car breaking down and asked her to pick him up, but Ashley ignored them. On June 8th, Tanner invented another lie and managed to see Ashley. The girl didn't want to argue again, so she once more repeated to the young man that they had split up and he shouldn't seek further meetings. However, Tanner simply refused to accept this. Tanner snatched the phone from Ashley's hands and started reviewing her messages. He saw that she was chatting with two guys and created a huge scene as he deemed the messages overly flirtatious. He essentially accused her of cheating, and the meeting ended in another relationship dispute. That night, the offended boyfriend contacted these two guys and said numerous nasty things to them, which again infuriated Ashley. The girl had to explain herself to him once more, and probably for the 10th time, tell him that they weren't a couple anymore. In response to this, she received a message filled with bitter jealousy. Tanner wrote that he had spent lots of time and money on her. She had been making eyes at other guys behind his back. He reproached her for infidelity and warned that he was going to do something foolish. If previously Ashley wanted to remain friends with him, she now realized this was impossible due to Tanner's immaturity in every respect. The girl just didn't consider one thing. The guy wasn't merely immature, he was harboring a plan of revenge in his head for her daring to leave him. On June 8, 2016, Flores messaged Ashley again and asked for one final meeting. The girl explained she had plans for that day, but he kept insisting. Ashley's mistake was that she felt sorry for her ex-boyfriend and ultimately agreed to talk. Not wanting to appear rude or impolite, she failed to establish clear boundaries. She felt bad that Tanner couldn't accept their breakup and decided to try once more to convince him that this would be better for them both. Ashley didn't want to meet, but felt obligated to resolve this matter peacefully. And she shouldn't be judged for this in any way, because she was still too young to foresee how this meeting would end. So, on June 9th, the former sweethearts arranged to meet at Lon Hagler Reservoir to discuss their separation one last time. Ashley got into her truck and drove away. This was the last time she was seen alive. Ashley's mother expected her daughter to return home by 7:30 in the evening. When this didn't happen, Her parents went to the reservoir and found her vehicle in the parking lot. The girl herself wasn't inside. Mother and father knew that if Ashley had planned to stay out late, she would have sent them a message or called. Moreover, they were aware that their daughter was supposed to meet with Tanner that evening. The worried parents immediately called the Larimer County Sheriff's Office and reported Ashley missing. Local law enforcement promptly began investigating and started calling Ashley's friends and relatives, trying to gather any possible information. And one thing stood out above everything else. Almost everyone interviewed mentioned Tanner's name. Naturally, it didn't take investigators long to discover that Tanner was Ashley's ex-boyfriend, whom she had recently broken up with, and that he was extremely upset about the breakup. One person revealed that Tanner had posted some message on Snapchat that made everyone think he wanted to end his life. Other people noticed they had never seen him as depressed as in recent days. But the most disturbing information about Tanner came from his father. The man informed police that his .22 caliber revolver was missing from the locked gun safe, and only his son knew where the key to the safe was located. The parents hadn't seen the teenager since 3:30 in the afternoon. They had called him, but the boy wasn't answering. So now the search efforts quickly shifted from one missing teenager to two, and it was necessary to find them as soon as possible. Tanner's vehicle, a white 1999 pickup truck with Colorado plates, was reported missing. Police across the state were alerted about the missing young people, and the investigation gained momentum. The search was in full force, but by 8 the next morning, everything was over. The sheriff's office received a call that Tanner's truck had been spotted on his deceased grandfather's property, located in Colebran, literally 5 hours' drive away on the other side of the state. Tanner's grandmother, who lived nearby, called a neighbor and asked if she had seen her grandson's truck. As soon as the neighbor confirmed that Tanner's vehicle was still on the property, the grandmother immediately reported this to law enforcement. Since it would take time to assemble a team and make an arrest to prevent the boy from escaping, they sent a wildlife ranger to the property that belonged to his late grandfather. He was supposed to monitor the truck and watch Tanner's actions. The ranger hid on the neighbor's property, and together they observed the young man doing something very suspicious. First, the youth threw blood-soaked rags right into the field. Then he tossed a rolled-up carpet into a woodpile behind the house. After that, Tanner pulled a blanket from the house and placed it on the back seat of his truck. The bundle appeared heavy, as if something was wrapped inside. And indeed, when the boy walked away from the vehicle, the observers saw a human hand protruding from the blanket. Fortunately, the county deputy sheriff and several police officers soon arrived on scene. Tanner didn't have time to drive away and escape. The arrest was made without incident. He was caught and taken into custody as he was leaving the house and heading toward the vehicle. On the truck's back seat, wrapped in a blanket, lay Ashley Doolittle. Unfortunately, no life-saving measures were needed because the girl was dead, caused by 3 gunshot wounds to the head. At first, Tanner tried to deny any involvement in the girl's death. He explained to officers that while they were sitting in his car discussing their relationship, Ashley grabbed the gun and pointed it at her head. The young man allegedly tried to take the gun away from her, but during the struggle, the weapon discharged. The bullet hit his girlfriend's head but didn't take her life. The girl screamed in pain, and Tanner, to end her suffering, shot her 2 more times. Obviously, this was a completely ridiculous, utterly absurd story that Tanner was trying to tell the authorities. He clearly wanted to make everything appear as an accident. However, he couldn't explain why he needed to shoot Ashley 2 more times. When officers directly told the boy that his entire story was nonsense and nobody would believe it, it took Tanner just a few minutes to tell the truth. That morning, Tanner took his father's gun to check if it worked properly. He went to Carter Lake to do some shooting. Then, at the appointed time, the young man met Ashley at Lon Hagler Reservoir. They left her vehicle and drove in Tanner's car to the lake where he had been the day before. According to Tanner, when the topic of breaking up came up, Ashley explained her desire by saying she wanted to date other guys before eventually marrying Tanner. That's how she supposedly motivated her wish to separate. Unfortunately, it was impossible to confirm his words. Who knows what Ashley might have said to her ex-boyfriend to soften the pain of separation. Nevertheless, after the conversation, Tanner turned the truck around and drove back. Judging by what happened next, the conversation went in the wrong direction. Ashley looked at Tanner and turned away. This glance somehow enraged him. He simply grabbed the gun and shot the girl. She started convulsing and panicking, so he shot again. The boy thought everything would happen instantly, but Ashley continued screaming. Then he fired a third time to put an end to her pain and suffering. Tanner confessed that he was frightened by the sight of bloodied Ashley. He couldn't look at her blood-covered face and decided to clean up the body. From Larimer County, he traveled almost to the other end of the state to his late grandfather's ranch. On June 17th, Ashley's funeral was held. No one could believe she was no longer in this world. Over 700 people gathered at the Catholic parish in Loveland, Colorado, to mourn the young girl's death. The number of people who came to bid farewell to Ashley was a vivid testament to the impact she had made on her community. Everyone was stunned and devastated by a tragedy that could have been prevented. The girl, who had achieved so much in her 18 years, unlike most peers, firmly knew what her future would be. Ashley knew what she wanted and was determined to achieve it. She knew her purpose and was already taking steps to reach it. The only thing Ashley didn't account for was that she would encounter someone who would decide to destroy all her aspirations. On June 20th, Tanner Flores first appeared in court, where he was charged with kidnapping and taking Ashley Doolittle's life. It was believed that the boy didn't allow the girl to leave his car that day when she wanted to leave. In October 2017, 6 months after Ashley's death, Tanner's trial began. The courtroom was completely packed with friends and relatives of both teenagers. It was a very emotional event for everyone. In reality, there was no doubt that Tanner had taken Ashley's life. The question was different, whether he did it deliberately or if his actions were the result of a spontaneous decision. According to the prosecution, Tanner went to Carter Lake in the morning to check the weapon, ensure it worked, and practice shooting. They also believed he had previously scouted for a suitable location for the attack, where there would be no witnesses. Additionally, the young man shot the girl with a single-action revolver. This meant that between each shot, he had to cock the firing mechanism. Consequently, Tanner had time to consider his further actions. The prosecutors also stated that Ashley might have survived the first shot if Tanner had sought help. Instead, he shot her 2 more times and drove 300 miles to hide the body. Of course, the defense insisted otherwise. In their opinion, unintentional killing would have been a fair charge for Tanner. Tanner himself completely denied planning to shoot Ashley, claiming everything happened spontaneously. He testified and described all the horrifying details of what happened that day. The young man stated that he threw both their phones out of the truck window, but before that, he sent himself a message from Ashley's phone, supposedly canceling their scheduled meeting. This clearly appeared as a failed attempt to cover his tracks. After the crime, Tanner took the girl's body to his late grandfather's estate, broke the sliding door's glass to access the house, washed away the blood, and watched several cartoons on TV to relax. He fell asleep without noticing, which was frightening given the teenager's lack of basic human emotions like sympathy and empathy. Tanner had just taken the life of an innocent girl whom he loved and didn't want to share with anyone, and after committing such a repulsive act, he turned on cartoons and peacefully fell asleep. The jury agreed with the prosecution's arguments, and on October 4, 2017, Tanner Flores was found guilty of intentional killing and kidnapping of Ashley Doolittle. The young man was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The girl's parents created a charitable foundation in her honor to raise awareness and prevent violence among teenagers, teaching them how to properly end relationships without risking their lives. Marie and Jeff Doolittle didn't want other parents to go through what they had experienced. In 2017, Ashley was posthumously named Boulder County Rodeo Queen. In her brief 18 years, she did more for society than some people do in their entire lifetime. Ashley Doolittle's dream came true, even if it was after her departure. This is the end of the story. Like the video and leave your thoughts in the comments. This was Jeremy. See you soon.